no Fox News saying we need fair and balanced news. There was no internet. The only thing we had was, of course, the telephone and the Phyllis Schlafly report. And our campaign started with the first one in February 1972 called What's Wrong with Equal Rights for Women? And over the 10 years of the fight, I probably wrote 100 different issues of the newsletter describing various bad effects of it. The media were not fair to us. Everything that was on was very much loaded against us. The only place we got a fair break was in the hearings before the state legislatures. And I traveled around and spoke at 41 of those state legislative hearings. And the state legislators, most of them were pretty decent persons, and they kind of thought you ought to hear from both sides if you were going to discuss this. So we laid out our plan, and I chose the battleground we fight on, which was the legal rights that women would lose if this amendment went into the Constitution. And for example, the classic discriminatory law was the draft law. And remember, we were still fighting the unpopular Vietnam War when it came out of Congress. And the draft law says male citizens of age 18 must register. Well, you change that to person, and that imperils the freedom of all 18-year-old girls. And when they went on television, they would make the women think they were all going to get a raise in pay, which of course was nonsense, because the Equal Pay for Equal Work Act was passed even before ERA. They had a time limit, and then they got a crooked extension when they couldn't get within the 7 years. But toward the end of the game, they somehow got $15 million, and they ran television ads with Hollywood stars. And they used not only Alan Alda, but Archie Bunker, Mrs. Archie Bunker, Ed Asner, Dick Gregory, and a lot of other famous Hollywood stars. And at that time, Billa Abzug was in the House of Representatives, and she persuaded the Congress to give her $5 million to have a big conference in Houston, which was designed to get the additional states to ratify because they needed 38. So they gave her $5 million for this, and they all had tax-paid trips to Houston, and it had enormous media coverage about this conference. And after they passed their resolution demanding ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment, then they passed their resolution demanding tax-funded abortions for any woman who wanted it. And after that, they passed their resolution calling for the whole gay rights agenda. So that conference didn't help them. For the first time, a lot of people saw what the feminist movement was all about.